All right, well, welcome to another episode of the WhyInfluence podcast. Today we got an awesome guest. His name is Shaun Kelly, and he's got two YouTube channels. One he started just a couple months back, but it's doing really well. So we're going to learn a little bit about his journey, what he's doing on YouTube, and what he's learned through the process, and why he's sharing specifically on YouTube. So first of all, just thanks for coming on the show, Shaun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, actually. This is the first time I've ever really been live, I think. So, of all the pieces of content I've created, this is new for me.
Nice. Yeah.
So, thank you.
Sure. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen. So this is live stream, but if you're listening to the podcast, you can go to the YouTube channel and see this part if you'd like. But I am going to share my screen here, and we'll start off by looking at your YouTube channel here. So you've got 4,700 subscribers on your Kelly Concepts YouTube channel, and you've had that for roughly like a year and a half, is my understanding.
Yeah, I think I'm coming up right on a year and a half now. Yeah.
And when you look at your popular uploads, you got one video that has almost 500,000 views, and then you have one that has 100,000 and a couple in the 70s of thousands, and it goes from there.
Yeah. And what's interesting is most of those have been trending consistently throughout their lifetime. And you can see most of them have been there for about a year. But that stock tank pool, that one was stuck at around 1,000 for months. And then all of a sudden springtime hit and boom.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I pulled up Social Blade here.
Oh, yeah.
So I can see that, you had a spike over here in, June, July timeframe. Is that the spike for that video?
Yeah, that was a spike from that video there. And that was also kind of when the virus was coming out around and people were getting locked in. So it's this landslide of good things for my channel.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So then you have this other channel called Kelly's Take. Oh, for those of you that couldn't see, the first YouTube channel is called Kelly Concepts, and it's like a maker channel. So Shaun is creating stuff, it's just maker, a lot of woodworking, a house. So you have another channel here, Kelly's Take, where everything is real estate. And what I see here is you got a lot of, North Carolina exam, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, a whole series of, exam prep for the real estate license exam. And you had just started a channel back in, I think it was March. And you're already at 500 subscribers, which is pretty fast to get to 500 subscribers. And you have 15,000 views, all organic. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I've been actually pleasantly surprised about this one because I've been thinking about making this channel for quite a while, this second channel here. And so it actually coming to fruition like this has been pretty awesome. And a lot of that has come from already doing it once with the first channel.
Nice. And so here on Social Blade, there's not a lot of data because it's such a young channel, but you can see that you're getting 10, 20 subscribers a day, which is pretty awesome for a young channel there.
Yeah, I actually haven't checked my Social Blade on this account yet, so that's cool. Yeah, I guess they don't clock in my revenue on that channel yet.
Yeah. Cool. Well, then let's jump into things. So first of all, like you've been sharing for a year and a half on YouTube. You've definitely I know you've had people that have reached out to you and say, hey, like you've helped me in this way or things like that. So is there anything that comes up to mind as far as like somebody that was impactful that reached out to you and said, hey, like I saw this video and it made this difference for me or anything like that?
Yeah, actually the stock tank pool, actually, it's maybe not as serious of a comment that I've gotten or feedback I've gotten, but somebody commented on that and they were just like, you changed my life. Like my wife has been wanting this for so long and you showed me how to do this. And I was kind of thrown off by that because most people are like, I've been having stock tank pool since I was, back in the 60s and we just fill it up with water. And so when going from comments like that to someone like, oh man, this changed my life. I'm like, the stock tank pool, that's pretty cool. And then on my newer channel, that one is like, I call it a feel good channel now. Cause again, my other channels, a lot of contractors and carpenters who have been doing a lot of building for years and years. So they come on there and they're like, I would have done it that way. I would have done it that way. But on my new channel, the real estate channel, I have people who are passing their exams, which is like a life-changing moment. And they're coming back on there and giving me feedback for it. And they're actually giving me calling me and telling me how I've helped him pass the test and stuff, which has been really cool. And that I was not expecting at all.
Wow. And
Yeah,
that's just in a matter of months because you literally had no channel to starting a channel and you're already hearing from feedback that you're helping people pass the exam. That's pretty amazing.
yeah. I saw the opportunity here a while back, and just reading a lot of like business books. You look for places to kind of enter markets when selling products, and so when I was taking real estate exam classes myself, the only resources really were this. There was a YouTube channel out there, and everybody referenced this YouTube channel. And when I would watch it, these videos were an hour and a half long, and it was a guy standing with a presentation behind him, so you can barely see it, and it was just kind of all over the place. The kids were asking questions, and sometimes there would be 15-minute breaks in the middle of a video, and so I was like, I make content. I can just while I'm taking these classes and I'm already taking down notes, why not kind of write out a script in the middle of class? It helps me learn my profession a little bit better, and then I can also build possibly a successful channel around it. And sure enough,
Yeah, you're already seeing some results from that.
yeah,
So before we dive too deep into your story here, what would be some of your biggest advice for new influencers? Like if someone's going to create a YouTube channel today, or maybe they just recently started one, they're trying to figure out how to optimize it. Like what would be some of your biggest advice for a young YouTuber?
yeah. So I gotta say what everyone already says, but you just have to start, right? I'm going to start with that. Like you just have to start. It doesn't matter if you just have a phone or lighting or anything. Everyone wants to be an Apple product. Everybody wants to be, successful right out the gate. But if you watch any of the really experienced YouTubers, they have hundreds of videos, possibly even other channels that they started a long time ago before they found what they were doing. Like I just watched Mr. Beast's like kind of biography, and he had posted hundreds of videos that only got like a few thousand views total for all those videos, and now each video gets a million views. So really, he just started. That's all he did. He just started, and now he's where he's at. Outside of that, though, every channel is different. So if you go and look at some other YouTuber who does things this way, they post on this day, they use this type of thumbnail with this type of font. I found that my data, the data that is given to me by YouTube, shows a completely different story from my type of content. And as someone who's done data and analysis for a corporation, like that's something I always look into, because you can make assumptions all day, but without having the actual proof of how it's working or why it's beneficial, I think it could set you back, and you could be focusing on the wrong things. And a good example of that is I would always Google, when's the best time to post? When's the best time to do this and that? And it everywhere says Tuesdays or Wednesdays. And then on Pinterest, you should post on Fridays and so on. My content is like a lot of how-to and DIY stuff for around your house. And when people are working, full-time jobs, 9 to 5, they're not looking for home projects until the weekend. So my content is better suited for the weekend, and my data reflects that.
Right.
I think, yeah, learn from other YouTubers, but also look at your own data and what your customers are telling you, your viewers are telling you.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you should see your data, because you can Google what's the best time to do a YouTube video, but that's just going to be a blanket across the board, and that could be just from some of the big whales and the content that they're creating, people sort of following that. But because you're a DIY, it makes sense that nights and weekends would be better than during the day for projects like that.
Yeah, I had even thought about, just from my experience right here, I was thinking it'd be really cool to create like a nighttime YouTube channel, because no one's being told to post at nighttime. And I get that the total audience is
Right.
smaller. But what if you had like a nighttime channel where it was like, I'm only going to post at midnight, and then you grab, I don't know what you would get, like video gamers or something, but I don't know. There's like, find what works for you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, Hannah left a comment saying it's very inspiring, just start, and that is great advice to look at your own data. So thanks for those comments, Hannah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so let's say you meet someone who is more established. I know you've given advice recently to some more established YouTubers, and they've learned stuff from you. So like, what's some of your secret sauce that you feel like that you do differently than the average person who's creating content on YouTube?
Okay, yeah. I think one of the big things I do is I do network. And I am someone who isn't very social myself, but even behind a keyboard, I'm not that social. If someone texts me, a friend texts me, it's, it can take a few hours, but I found it to be really important to leave comments on other channels. Reply to every single one of your comments. Every time someone comments on yours, reply to them. Even the negative ones I started replying back to, and I'll put a smiley face or haha, that's funny or something, and make them feel stupid for even commenting something negative. I felt like that's really important. And so one tactic that I've found to be beneficial for me, and yeah, um, one of your other influencers has 250,000 subscribers, and he made a comment about this idea. And I didn't create this idea, but I have implemented it. And it's basically the concept of going to other smaller channels who only have less than 100 subscribers or so. And you can do this by just filtering in the search bar. You search channels, and then you search by the upload date rather than the popularity or the view count or anything like that. If you search by the upload date, you'll get a ton of like random channels. Some will have quite a few subscribers, but many of them will be less than 100 because the majority of channels have very few subscribers. And what you do is you just leave a comment on their page, and make sure that that content is related to what your channel is. So mine is DIY stuff. So I would search for DIY is actually still very broad, but I would search for like woodworking. I'll find a bunch of channels that are woodworking that have a legit logo and that have posted recently. And I would drop a comment in there, hey, this is awesome. You've got a new subscriber here. And I'll put like an emoji so it really stands out. And then I'll subscribe, and then I'll like their video. And sure enough, you'll just see pops. If you do that for a good, you don't have to do it. I started doing it for about an hour a day now, which is a lot. I didn't used to do that.
Wow.
Yeah. And well, I do an hour of networking. So not just that, I guess, but other things too. But I'll do that, and you'll just see an influx of subscribers that same day. And other people will comment on your videos like, hey, thanks for viewing my video. This is pretty cool too. So you'll get comments, you'll get likes, you'll get subscriptions, you'll get views just by doing this tactic. So it's a really great way to really quickly pick up some steam there.
Yeah, and I could definitely vouch for that tactic because you spoke at a meetup, a weekly meetup every Thursday, and you showed us that, you shared your screen and you walked through it, and right after the meetup you sent me a message with a screenshot showing that you already got a subscriber from the one that you gave an example in the meetup right live in front of us. So
Yeah,
it does work. That's pretty amazing.
yeah, he subscribed and liked. And one thing I just started doing so I didn't do this originally on my new real estate channel, but I have been doing it the past couple of weeks now that I've put together an actual business plan, trying to go more close to full time with it. And so I started doing it on my new channel, and you can see I was 3 to 4 to 5 subscribers a day. And then I did that for 3 days straight. And I searched for all kinds of things like Keller Williams, real estate, North Carolina real estate, and found these other channels and just blasted them. And you just see pops in my subscribership. So
Nice.
Yeah, so it's been pretty cool.
All right, so let's thanks for sharing that advice, by the way. It's great advice. So let's go into your story a little bit. Where was the beginning for this whole sharing thing? Like, how did you start? Like, what was your first video, and what did that world look like when you first started sharing online and on YouTube?
For sure. So it was completely unintentional at first. I just had a buddy who wanted to make a bumper, like weld together a bumper and put it on his truck. And I like doing things, like making things and working on things. So I was like, okay, cool. And he just mentioned that if we create a video and send it to the bumper company, they'll give you $100. And I was just barely out of school, so $100 was awesome, especially for creating a video. Like I didn't have to go into work or anything. And this idea of passive income was always cool, even though working on a video isn't really passive. But so I created that video, I uploaded it to YouTube, and then a few weeks later, I got a $100 check. And then I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk a lot, like a lot of people in our field early on, and he was always talking about documenting instead of creating. And I was about to start this master bathroom remodel, and I was like, why not just film this whole process and post it to YouTube? And it'll be great for me to look back on, like once I've made it, right? Once I'm successful, I can look back on these early days, and it was pretty much just a way for me to see where I started. And then so I started posting stuff on there, and I think it was like my fifth or sixth video. I just started gaining a bunch of traction on it, and I don't know. I've always liked creating content, so then I just took off from there. And
Yeah. And we had talked a little bit before this conversation, and you had mentioned that you weren't really comfortable sharing the fact that you're sharing with your community. And then you thought, okay, well, maybe I'll get more established and then I'll share it with them then. Then you realize, well, you get enough subscribers now. It's not like you need those couple extras. So then did you ever end up sharing your content with your community, or where are you at with that?
not really, no. I've started going more towards Facebook by like chopping things up because of one of your influencers were talking about, they kind of pitched that idea and they said they did it, and I thought that was a great idea. Instead of recreating content, you just repurpose your old content and put it to other platforms. So I have been doing that, but I still put it on a business channel, and I've shared maybe one, maybe two things on my personal channel, like, hey, check out this. But just last night, actually, I just hit a mark on my TubeBuddy thing, a milestone, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is a big deal for me, and I was gonna post it. I had it like ready to be shared on my personal Facebook, and I was like, now I just feel like I'm bragging. I don't know if I still want people to see it, so I didn't do it. But yeah, early on, I didn't even want to be in my videos. You'll see my hands mostly, or it was a completely different experience than when I started from where I'm at now.
Yeah. And it sounds like, I mean, I think everyone is, but it sounds like you're still overcoming barriers to be able to share bigger. Like, the fact that you had a whole post ready to go and then offer a major milestone, and then you decide not to post it, for whatever reasons, there's some kind of barrier there. So it sounds like, you've overcome a lot of barriers to get to where you are today. So that's congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that does go back to just starting, right? Because it's a barrier after barrier after barrier. And maybe before long, I wouldn't mind posting stuff to my personal account at all. And if
Yeah.
anyone who does watch this has any tips on that, I mean, that'd be great, because I am looking at, again, going back to Gary Vaynerchuk. I haven't watched him in a few years, but all of his stuff really sticks with me. But it's like not worrying about what other people think, and I keep thinking I'm like that, but deep down, it's that's still in the back of my mind. But then to your point too that you mentioned earlier, there gets to a point where you get 20, 30 subscribers a day. So me posting it to my friends, almost like a sales pitch, is it worth gaining a few subscribers? And are they even going to watch it? My friends aren't really into this kind of thing.
Right.
So I don't know. So all those
Yeah.
things play in my head.
Still struggle with that too myself, and I know that I've been doing more sharing on LinkedIn than on Facebook, and I know that you never know who's paying attention, because you may see, okay, like 500 people saw this post, but only like a couple people liked it and a couple people commented, and I've had people that have private messaged me months after I've been sharing, just saying, hey, I've been seeing your content, keep it up, but they've never liked or commented on anything. So you never
Oh,
know really who's lurking and who's watching things. Just
yeah.
observation that I've had.
Okay. Yeah, that's very true. I have had other companies share my stuff on Facebook with my permission. And I've had a couple of friends text me like, hey, is this you? Or they'll Facebook message me, hey, is this you? And so they found that video through Facebook. And those are
That's
some
funny.
things where I've been like, yeah, leaking into like my personal life with it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you're doing something right if it's getting to that point. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was on that semi-viral video though. So it's yeah.
Yeah. So you've had a lot of barriers you've had to overcome. Like, what was it like starting out? Like, how did you give yourself permission to do that? I know that you had the reason for making the $100 in the first video. Maybe some were like hands only, but eventually you put your face out there and you put your personality out there. So like, how did you give yourself permission to do that, or what did that barrier look like when you overcame it?
I was really starting to watch other YouTubers and other just successful people in general, like things that I'm scared to do. I see that they do it and they've had to overcome some of these obstacles. There's some things that I'll still never do or try to do, such as like phone sales, right? I'll never get on the phone probably. I tell myself that. I'll probably never get on the phone, even if I knew like I can build a multi-million-dollar empire. That would like maybe get close to influencing me, but even then, I feel super uncomfortable there. So I think just watching other people become successful and things like that. I think that was just the biggest thing for me. Watching other people do it and kind of paving that way for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see people doing the example, you're like, okay, well, this is in order to make a bigger impact, to tell a better story, you got to step up and just, you started in the easy way, hands only, and you eased your way into it. So I think that's a good progression. That's similar to me. Like when I started my podcast, I never shared, but my first couple, I did an audio only. I re-recorded myself talking in my first 3 episodes. So I was fully comfortable when I was trying to like do it, because I could be like, okay, well, I'm gonna re-record myself asking this question, so I don't have to. I can stumble through it. So it's just a process to keep going.
Yeah.
So here, Hannah said she's loving the honesty. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank
And
you.
she said, after your success, it's so interesting to me that you feel this, like self-doubt, criticism, overanalyzing has stopped me posting so much. So I think a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, I know I do.
Yeah, I think I've seen one of your earlier videos too, or maybe you mentioned it in the influencer group that at first you were uncomfortable being on camera or something early on, and so I do feel like it's widely popular, and I also think that plays an advantage to you. Then is like everyone feels this way. Like I see so many flaws with my. I'm not gonna point them out because then everyone will see them. But like everyone sees something in themselves, and you probably hear it all the time from like my mom says stuff about she has a tiny little scar. I can barely see it, but she knows it, right? Um, so everyone has something, and so I always thought like, oh, everyone's going to see this, everyone's going to see that. No one really cares. Everyone has it, and everyone's so uncomfortable with themselves being on camera that they're not looking at necessarily someone else on camera. So I think putting those things too in your mind really help.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as who you are as a person, you were pretty introverted. You didn't, you slow at responding to texts. You sound very similar to like how I am and how I was. But like, what have you seen that's changed as just who you are as a communicator and a person now that you're a year and a half into this whole journey of sharing, like, being in environments around other people, just in general, like how have you changed from before you started to where you are today?
I think one of the big obstacles is having my wife here, right? Like even though I've known her for 7 or 8 years, just even if she's not in the room, before it was so hard to film, right? Like she would have to be completely gone. And now I've gone to a phase where it's like I can film in the house with her and feel just fine if I'm like somewhere else. And then even in front of her, I'm still able to do it. I'm still good with doing it. I just might have to repeat myself a couple times. But there's also my garage was always open to the street, and that's where most of my projects took place. And I got to the early on, it was like I would hide my camera behind my truck, or I would hide my camera somewhere on a shelf. And then I got to the point where it's like I don't really care. Like they're probably interested in what I'm doing. Like I could be filming this for anybody. Like no one's gonna think you're necessarily crazy. Like I'm still not in a place where I can carry a camera and walk down the street and film myself. I don't know if I'll ever get there. For instance, I was actually going to film the headboard handoff, and I was like, you know what, no way, I can't do that. So yeah, I've definitely evolved, and I'm able to kind of talk without a script now, which is a huge. That's been great. That saves a lot of time. I still have a guideline, but without having an actual script, some of my like quirkiest comments on my videos come from like just something in my head real quick. So I think that's kind of cool, and it makes it a little bit more natural in the videos.
Yeah. So your earlier videos were a little more scripted, whereas now it's like you got a couple points that you want to make, and you can just sort of talk to the points.
Yeah, and I think that's going to play out in the long run too, because early on, nobody necessarily cares who no one cared who I was in this world. So having how-to videos, having specific videos where I have guidelines and I have set rules in place for my videos, it was easy for people to catch on to it and like, this is how you build this. Okay, thanks for the information. I'll see you later. As I'm progressing, I'm trying to become a little bit more natural in my videos and try to have a little bit, maybe more of a story show my kid a little bit more, have it more personal, so people who are subscribed to me will start like feeling connected, just like we all do with some of the biggest YouTubers out there.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I've actually had a couple guests that have taken this interview that I've done with them and literally just posted the entire thing up on their YouTube channel, because it's a deep dive into them, and their community cares a lot about who they are, and we deep dive here. So nope, I'm obviously not pressuring you to do anything, but I'm just throwing it out there. It's like, I'm very open with the content that we create here. It's just as much yours as it is mine. So just food for thought.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I was gonna see, even here, I was gonna tell some friends, I was gonna send them a link to this, and I was like, no, I'll wait. So.
Yeah, I understand that.
But to my YouTube channels, yeah, content like this, great to repurpose.
Yeah, it's funny how like it's so hard to share something like this with a couple of friends, but it's so easy to share it with a ton of strangers. It's like very different.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
So as far as community goes, you're building community obviously through your YouTube channels, but like, what is your like vision for what the community could be, or like what is, a lot of people like can create like Discord groups or Facebook groups or groups where all the community members can come and interact with each other. I know podcasting is horrible for that because there's nowhere to even leave comments, but YouTube, people can leave comments, so there's a little bit more community there. But do you have any plans or visions for community, or is there community going on that you just haven't shared yet?
Yeah, so there is a community on my first channel going on where it started off with me commenting on, I didn't start this community, but I was commenting on other woodworking and DIY channels, just like I was talking about earlier, where you just go in and search for them and find them and comment, and they would comment back. And then a lot of times I just kind of like, I forgot that I subscribed. I forgot that I commented, because you do it to, a dozen people a day. And I would post a new video and then they would comment on it again. I'm like, okay. And then another one, they'd comment again. And I would reciprocate every time. And after a few months, one of the guys had said, hey, we have a makers channel, a Discord group over here. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah, okay. So I was probably like the 10th person who was in here. And from there, we're at like 40 to 50. And it's been really valuable. We're all talking about ideas. We collaborate on videos. We go to all of our own videos and like and comment. So it's been pretty cool to have people who are like-minded. Now, in the same aspect, though, I'm not necessarily that interested in watching other people do this stuff myself. It's not something I like to watch. It's just something I like to do. So it is hard sometimes to stay in a group that is like, it's very similar to your channel, but not necessarily something you enjoy other people doing. Like playing basketball or something. Like, wait, no, I love watching basketball, but I don't know. There's some sports out there that I wouldn't mind playing, like kickball maybe. Like that's a fun drinking game, right? But I would hate to watch other people do it. So we do have that group. And then on my real estate channel, that one I'm starting to build some ideas, and I'm getting some good ideas from other actual real estate agents that are telling me, hey, I basically have 500 and something people who are local to North Carolina who are trying to become real estate agents. They're right here in my area. There's ways where you can build a community and you can get referrals, and I'm kind of becoming somewhat of a small-time thought leader, but people who are coming right out of the gates now will kind of know who I am, just like I knew who that other YouTuber was who created the 2-hour-long videos.
Right.
So if I ever saw him in person or heard about him in the local area, I would know exactly who that is. So I can I'm thinking about creating some kind of community where we can all go here and learn, maybe create some live Jeopardy type games for those North Carolina real estate exam classes. And it was actually a commenter who pitched that idea, but there's a lot of room for community there. Yeah. I think it's really important for new YouTubers, especially.
Yeah, for sure. And then even established YouTubers, I mean, or anybody trying to build community, you need somewhere for that community to be. So
that's true.
That's awesome. So, and people that share online and that are influencers, like they're making money and all kinds of ways. Like you can go, as deep as you like are comfortable with. Like we can stay at a high level, that's fine. But I'm curious if you'd be willing to share from like a high level, like how are you making a living as a YouTuber and an influencer?
Yeah. So I'll go full in here because it's not necessarily my primary. Like I'm not giving that much information away, but my very first year, I started from like March, maybe February to the end of 2019. And that whole time, 10 months or so, I made $500 through Amazon affiliates, which, it was enough to keep me inspired. It was enough to keep me like, this is like the potential. And I've only been doing this for less than a year. It was a lot of work, right? Like it's probably $1 an hour at that point, right? It's not anything glorious, but just seeing that really helped me keep pushing. And so then came Christmas and I really had a pop. So it was like $50 a month. And then boom, it was this pop of like $100. And I was like, oh wow, this is crazy. Tripled my income just like that. And then came January, February, March of the next year. So I'm a full year in and I become monetized on YouTube. And then the virus happens. So people are staying at home watching videos. And then my stock tank pool video blows up. And so I go from making, probably an average of $40 a month to over a few days there for a week, I was making $140 a day. Like
Wow.
it was, yeah. And that week too, I wasn't even doing much as far as YouTube. So a lot of things that I had already made in place in 2019, in 2020 was all coming to fruition. I was sitting around, I was like taking care of the kids and stuff, $140 a day for, I didn't have to go in anywhere. To me, that was like, I was like freaking out. I even told y'all, I was like, yeah, it was just so exciting. But then as you saw in the charts, a lot of that came coming down. So it was a few weeks like that. And then I had stagnated around $50 a day for a while. And that's just ad revenue. I was then
Wow.
making like Amazon stuff. Um, and so now I'm like coasting. I've hit this baseline of about $40 through ad revenue and then $20 or so on Amazon affiliates. So even on my small, like 5,000 isn't small, but 5,000 isn't anything to write home about either. Even with that, you can make some great side change or pocket change for me, especially. I think, I don't know, I was just really excited to have all that. And I don't mind talking about it because for me, that would be, I always heard you only make pennies for videos. Like you publish a video and you just get pennies on it. And so I was becoming more and more unexcited before I got monetized. Like even in our group of 40 to 50 people, I would hear, oh, congratulations, now you'll come home with like $1 a day. And I was like, okay, well, it's better than nothing. I can buy a drink or something every week. And then just seeing what it actually is or what it actually was for me. If I had heard that, I think I would have been a little bit more motivated. So just knowing, yeah.
And because you're making, what you're talking about is the ad revenue, like from people watching the videos and YouTube putting ads and then you getting YouTube revenue, or is it the affiliate or the combo of the two when you're sharing this?
I kind of mix it up, but the 140 was all in, both ad revenue and Amazon affiliate. And now it's like $40 ad revenue and $20 Amazon affiliate.
Oh, wow. So you're making more from YouTube ads than affiliate.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And I know that there's certain niches that'll grab more money. Like I think financial videos, I think they make bank. I think like credit card companies who advertise through them, they pay like $10 per 1,000 impressions or something crazy. I guess mine is in a good niche where it's like ad revenue is like decent. Because then you do have people who do like the street interviews we saw, and I don't know, but the cost per 1,000 views isn't all there. So it may fluctuate
Right.
between your content.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I've always heard that you can't make much from the ad revenue. You need, other sources. But it's interesting to hear that, how well it's working for you on your channel. So it makes sense that different channels would have different, incomes from that.
Yeah, yeah. And so my new channel too, I'm making sure all my videos hit over 10 minutes so I can double up on the advertisements. And so eventually when I become monetized there, I'm hoping for I'll have less views, but maybe get paid out a little bit more per video. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so you've got the ad revenue, the affiliates, and is this a full-time gig for you? Like, obviously it's taken time to get to this point, and you were making $50 a month, so you couldn't be making a living through that. So there's a transition period through this, but do you mind just a little bit higher level view, just like, where you're at or where you started and how you got there?
Yeah. So going through that first year, it was never planned to become like a YouTuber at all. And then when I did become monetized and it was going like that, it was at this point there was a thought in my head, like, this could be really full time. And you do hear people who are YouTubers, they'll all show you their past. Like these people who have a million subscribers, they all have videos of their YouTube history basically. And they'll all show you like it's just trickling along for a year or however long. And you just see exponential growth and it just keeps going. And so when I started hitting that exponential curve right there and going up, I was like, oh, this is it. And then and that curve lasted a little while. It kept like bumping up and down and then kept going up and up. And I was like, so it's not just a spike. It's like, it's actually, doing its thing. And sure enough, a few months later, it did like come back to, a baseline. And so now I'm considering, like, I don't know where to go from here. Right. Like I'm heavily considering going into this, maybe 40 hours a week and like really pushing and pushing and pushing, because when I was making all that was just me having fun.
Right.
Now what happens if I actually have a business plan and set time up throughout the day to really push this? And so that's where I'm leaning, is doing that.
Okay. Well, we don't have to go too deep there, but I'm definitely excited to have you on again, maybe in a couple months, and we can like see where you're at with that journey, because I'm sure it's going to be evolving a lot over time.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, thanks so much for sharing the detail on the financials. I know it's going to help a lot of people think through their approach on things. So appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if it helps anyone stay motivated to post weekly or consistently or frequently, I mean, you can see that it can be worth it in the long run.
Right. So, we're getting closer to the end here. Before I open the floor to like talk about like, where people can find you, and which I'll obviously put links to everything in the description and in the show notes on the website. But do you have any last words of wisdom, knowing that a lot of the listeners here are going to be people that are either struggling to get started, or maybe they are started and they're trying to level up. So do you have any last words for them?
I think it just goes back to, you just got to post, you just got to get going on it. And I would say some of my key like points that I follow every single week for my stuff is you got to keep posting. So you got to start posting, then you got to keep posting. I do mine every Friday, every single week, and I don't miss one. So those are two there. And then I have in all of my videos, I think some of the biggest things I see in most YouTubers, a lot of the people in our 40 to 50 group, our makers group, when we watch their videos, they have maybe a minute or two of stuff that isn't relevant to the video. And so a huge takeaway is don't spend a lot of time with your introduction, right? Make it catchy, make it snappy, get to the point. And then just networking. So I think following those key rules there is what's led to my success and what I keep getting better and better at.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely apparent that's contributed heavily to your success. You got to get started. You can't get anywhere if you're not starting, and then you got to stay consistent. So to do that, you need probably a powerful enough why, so that you're not going to be like, oh, well, I can blow this off. Like you're doing it for your own reason. Like for you were documenting your process so you could look back at it. So you had your reasons to keep going in the early days, where it wasn't driven by the income, because you didn't even see the possibility for that. And then the networking, because that was the only way to grow your channel, because you weren't going to network with your own network, type of thing.
Yeah, that's actually huge. So I didn't even mention that, and you just did right now. Having a big why, like why are you doing this, will really help drive you. So if someone has a business, I know a lot of people in the group have businesses and they're just trying to find another aspect to market it or find customers. Like that's your why, and really dive deep into how that's going to work for you, for sure. And yeah, me having a way to document my journey, that was my entire why in the beginning. And then now it's a little bit of that, and then a lot of like monetary incentives there. So yeah, that's a good one actually.
Nice. That's awesome. So, what's the best way for someone to find you? I mean, I've got in the description here links to your YouTube channels. But if someone got value from this episode, which I encourage, if you did get value in this episode and you learned stuff from Shaun, to please like send him a private message or email, or go to his YouTube channel and just leave a comment and saying like, "Hey, I saw you, and like I got value from this, or this is what I learned from you." Because it's always great to hear from other people, like that you're making a difference. So if you got value from Shaun, please leave him a comment or message. So where can we do that?
Yeah, so definitely my YouTube channels. Go in there and drop a comment. Again, I reply to all of them. If you want something a little bit more personal questions, or something that you don't want to publicly post, or you don't have a YouTube channel, you can definitely find me on Facebook, either my personal name, or I have Kelly Concepts. I have a Facebook page there, and I've been managing that quite a bit more. So you can always send me a message or comment there for sure.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I dug and got all the links, so I'll be including all that in the show notes for this episode.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
cool.
well, Shaun, thanks so much for coming on today. It was awesome conversation. I learned a lot. I know that other people did. Hannah, thanks for your comments. I see like comments been flowing through. So thanks for tuning in live. But yeah, thanks for coming on and sharing with us. I definitely look forward to seeing you keep growing, and also to get like an update sometime, on your journey, because I think you're just in the beginning of something great here.
Cool. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you. And yeah, hopefully, next time I'm on here, I'll have some great news. So thank you so much.
Nice. And so if you enjoyed this episode, we do interviews like this every week, and also, I talk a lot about communities and been learning from other people. So I've started a community for aspiring influencers and influencers. I know Shaun's attended and spoken at that. So if you're interested in growing your influence, then consider just going to my website, or shoot me a message, and I'll happily send you a link to join. We do a weekly meetup. Right now, we're at around 20 to 30 people showing up every week, which is pretty awesome. So I just look forward to keep growing the community. So if you want to join it, please join. Otherwise, thanks again, Shaun. Thank you for listening to the end, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.